He shoved her into the locker and whispered, "Say another word, and I'll make you regret coming to this school." What he didn't know. Her big sister wasn't just anyone, she was U.S. Army trained. And furious, Aaliyah Bennett didn't flinch when the metal locker clanged behind her. The hallway buzzed with noise-slamming lockers, echoing voices, snakers screeching against the tile, but her mind drowned it all out. She stood rooted, eyes locked forward, jaw tight. She had promised herself she wouldn't cry. Not again. Not here. It was only her second week at Eastwood High, and already she was counting the days until she could leave. She pressed a hand against her lavender hoodie, trying to slow her breathing. Her 4C hurtly twisted and pinned neatly into a low bun with golden cuffs remained immaculately still, even if her chest was rising and falling like a storm inside. Her deep mocha-brown skin glowed beneath the buzzing ceiling lights, but right now it felt like a target. The name had come again. Jungle Freak, thrown from the lips of Bryce Langston, the golden-haired, blue-eyed football star everyone worshipped, son of the district superintendent, untouchable. His voice oozed arrogance, heard. And worse, he wasn't alone. A pack of boys behind him had laughed, one of them even filming on his phone. Aaliyah clenched her fists in her black cargo pants. Her white Nike Air Force One South stayed planted. She had said nothing. That's what they wanted, right? Silence, obedience, fear. But when she walked away, Bryce followed. Just around the corner from her locker, he cornered her, his smirk turning into a shadow. "You think just because you keep your mouth shut you're safe?" He muttered low enough that only she could hear. "You're not." She blinked. "I swear," he hissed. "Say another word to anyone, and I'll make sure you regret ever." Stepping foot in this school, her stomach twisted. That's when she realized this wasn't just bullying. This was a threat. Aaliyah didn't go to class. She walked right past the third period bell and headed straight for the girls' bathroom. Locking herself in the farthest stall, she sat down on the toilet lid and just stared at the scratched-up door in front of her. Her hands trembled in her lap. She wasn't weak. She had never been weak. Back in Atlanta, she'd gone to a school full of kids who looked like her. Girls wore box braids with beads that clicked when they walked. Boys came in with derricks, and no teacher said a word. She had friends who shared her playlists, her slang, her fire. Life had rhythm there. It had soul. Eastwood had stripped that away. Here she was, the other, the outsider, the punchline, and now possibly worse. She didn't know if Bryce was bluffing, but something in the way he had said it was cold, quiet, full of the kind of privilege that thinks it can get away. With anything, it made her feel like she had been marked. She reached into her canvas messenger bag and pulled out her phone. A picture of her big sister, Kayla, was her background, dressed in army fatigues, standing proud on a dusty base in Kuwait. Grinning with mirrored sunglasses and dog tags around her neck, Kayla was everything Aaliyah wanted to be. Bold, brave, unshakable. Aaliyah wiped at her cheek before the tear could fall. She couldn't tell. Not yet. Mom worked 2 jobs now since the move. She was already stretched thin. Worrying her would just add more to her plate. But Kayla, ... Aaliyah's thumb hovered over the message icon. She typed 3 words. "I need you," and hit send. Kayla Bennett read the message while sitting under. A scorching sun, sand in her boots, and sweat trickling down the back of her neck. She blinked once, then twice. Younger sister didn't message her often, usually only funny memes, school photos, or little updates. "I need you." That wasn't small talk. Within 2 minutes, Kayla had walked into her commanding officer's tent. Within 12 hours, she was on a flight home. Back at Eastwood High, things were getting worse. It started with snide comments during lunch. A mysterious note slipped into her locker. "Better watch yourself." Then someone hacked her school profile and changed her avatar to a gorilla. She held her breath through every class, trying to keep her head down, ignoring the burning stares and mocking whispers. But when the gym teacher said they'd be doing partnered rope climbing, and Bryce was accidentally assigned to her, she knew it wasn't going to stop on its own. Bryce stood at the base of the climbing rope, grinning Coach Thompson, unaware, pretending not to see blew his whistle, and turned his back. Aaliyah stared up at the rope. Her palms were sweaty. Her heart beat like a drumline inside her chest. She hadn't spoken a single word to Bryce all day, but he kept looking at her with that smirk. "I'll give you a boost," he said with a grin, grabbing the rope. "You'll need it. Unless you're used to swinging through trees, right?" Boys behind him snorted. Aaliyah felt heat rise in her face, but she didn't move. She didn't say a word, but Bryce wasn't done. As she reached for the rope, he suddenly shoved it, making her lose balance. Why, she stumbled back and hit the floor hard. Laughter echoed in the gym like a grenade. Her elbows burned from the fall. Coach didn't turn around. That night, Aaliyah sat at the kitchen table, slowly turning a pencil between her fingers. Her hoodie sleeves were tugged down over her hands, hiding the scraped skin beneath. Her laptop sat open in front of her, untouched. Her mother worked the night shift, so the house was quiet, too quiet. A knock came at the front door. Aaliyah frowned. She got up and walked slowly toward the entrance. Another knock firmer this time. Her heart jumped. She opened the door and nearly fell forward. Kayla. Her sister stood on the porch in full camouflage fatigues, a military duffel bag over one shoulder, and a stone-serious look on her face. Aaliyah leaped forward and threw her arms around her. "Oh my God," she said into Kayla's chest. "Here, you're really here." Kayla hugged her tight, placing one hand on the back of Aaliyah's head. "I got your message," Kayla said, "and I'm here to handle it." Kayla didn't waste time. Within an hour, she had unpacked her bag, changed into civilian clothes combat boots. Army green t-shirt and jeans. Ann sat across from Aaliyah with a notebook in hand. "I want everything," she said. "Names, times, places. Don't leave anything out." Aaliyah blinked. Are you really going to do something?" Kayla met her eyes. "Aaliyah, I've marched through war zones with enemy fire overhead. You think I'm going to let some spoiled suburban punk mess with my baby sister? Hell no." And just like that, Aaliyah cracked a small smile. For the first time in 2 weeks, she felt something close to safety. Kayla's plan wasn't about fists. It was about justice. The next morning, she marched into Eastwood High. The front office froze. A tall, broad-shouldered black woman in boots and military gear doesn't go unnoticed. "Can I help you?" the secretary asked, blinking. "Yes," Kayla said. "I'm Sergeant Kayla Bennett. I'm here to talk to the principal about a series of racial threats and targeted harassment against my sister. And if I don't get answers today, I'll be filing formal complaints with the school board, local news, and the Department of Education's Civil Rights Office." The secretary gulped. "Please, have a seat." Inside Principal Danvers' office, the mood was tense. Danvers, a balding man in his 50s, tried to maintain composure. "Miss Bennett, I assure you, we take all accusations of bullying very seriously, Kayla. Cut 'em off. I'm not here to hear rehearsed PR lines. I'm here because my sister, 14, black, new to this school, has been physically threatened, publicly humiliated, and psychologically harassed by a group of students. Chief among them is Bryce Langston, your golden boy." Uncomfortably. "And if I find out this school tried to cover it up," Kayla continued, "I'll have lawyers here faster than you can say funding cut." Danvers exhaled. "Let me look into it." "You'll do more than that," Kayla said. "You'll have Bryce and his cronies brought in. They'll pull security footage. And you'll sit down with me, Aaliyah, and your staff to develop a safety plan that protects my sister." Danvers nodded stiffly. "Fine, I'll arrange the meeting." Kayla leaned forward. "You better." Outside the office, word spread like wildfire. The Army sister was here. Some kids were scared. Others were curious. Bryce, however, just laughed. "Let her come," he said to his crew. "I don't care if she's in the military. What's she gonna do? Shout at me in camouflage?" He didn't know. He was already in over his head. Bryce didn't see it coming. He strolled into the school library with the same cocky grin, tossing his backpack onto a table like he owned the place. He had no clue that in a few minutes his world was going to tilt. Kayla was already there, sitting across from Principal Danvers, arms folded, eyes locked on the door. Aaliyah sat next to her, shoulders square, hoodie sleeves rolled up now. Scrapes on her elbow were visible. No more hiding. The librarian shut the door behind Bryce. He blinked when he saw them all waiting. "What's this?" he said, glancing at Danvers. "Am I in trouble or something?" Kayla didn't wait for permission. "Sit down." Her voice was calm, low, firm, commanding. Bryce froze. Something in her tone cut straight through his smugness. "Time?" He looked unsure. He sat. Kayla slid a sheet of paper across the table. It was a printed log. Date, time, incident. Alia's handwritten notes, turned into a record. "She's documented everything you've done," Kayla said. "And I've forwarded copies to the school board and to civil rights organizations. If you think this is just about name-calling, let me remind you, threats of violence are criminal." Bryce laughed nervously. "I didn't threaten anyone. You told her, and I quote, 'Say another word and I'll make you regret coming to this school.' Sound familiar?" He looked at Principal Danvers, suddenly quiet. "Tell me, Kayla," continued, "why you thought you could threaten my sister. Was it because you thought no one would believe her, or that she doesn't matter, or that your daddy's job would shield you?" Danvers opened his mouth, but Kayla raised a hand. "I'm not asking you." Bryce's lips curled, but the arrogance was cracking. "I didn't mean it like that." "You shoved her," Aaliyah said softly, her voice strong now. "In gym, you laughed. You said I belonged in trees." Silence. The weight of truth hung. In the room, Kayla leaned in. "You don't get to rewrite the facts just because they make you uncomfortable. You tried to bully my sister into silence. But what you failed to realize is Bennett girls don't break." After the meeting, Bryce was suspended for a week. Wasn't enough, but it was the first real consequence he'd ever faced. Word spread fast. The bully had been checked by a soldier, and Alia Bennett. She walked through the halls with her head higher than ever, not because the war was over, but because she'd finally stopped fighting alone the next day. Aaliyah walked into school with a new rhythm in her step. Her lavender hoodie was zipped halfway. Her gold-cuffed twist bun, freshly done, and her white sneakers gleamed like polished armor. Students stepped aside in the hallway, not out of fear, but out of respect. Something had shifted. The girl who once ate lunch alone had become a symbol, but it wasn't over. Not even close. While Bryce was suspended, his friends remained. And some of them didn't take the fallout lightly in gym. Kyle, Bryce's right-hand guy, accidentally tossed a dodgeball hard at Alia's head. In science, a new anonymous Instagram page popped up, at Eastwood Truths, posting fake stories about her. And someone spray-painted crybaby soldier's sister across her locker before first period. Principal Danvers promised the school was investigating. But it was obvious without Bryce to control them. The snakes had scattered, but they were still biting. At home, Aaliyah sat at the kitchen table again. This time, Kayla was beside her, laptop open. 2 cups of tea between them. "I thought this was supposed to get better," Aaliyah muttered. "It will," Kayla said. "But bullies don't just quit when they're exposed. They regroup, retaliate. That's why we prepare." She turned her laptop toward Aaliyah. On the screen, a plan. Operation Shield. Title read. It was Kayla's system for protecting Aaliyah from the inside out. It had 5 parts. Documentation, every incident. Logged, photographed, time-stamped. Allies, finding other students who'd witnessed Bryce or his friends acting out. Visibility, making Alia's story known to teachers, student council, and even the community. Reporting chains, direct contacts with administrators and local advocates, empowerment, self-defense training, assertive speaking skills, and boundary setting. "This isn't just about you," Kayla said. "This is about every girl who's been pushed down and told to stay silent. You're not just surviving, Alia, you're leading." Over the next week, things began to change. Not because the school acted, but because Aaliyah did. She joined. The Student Diversity Committee, previously a performative club with no bite-in, transformed it. She told her story during a lunchtime panel. 2 other girls came forward afterward. One was Asian American, bullied for her accent. Another was Latina, mocked for her name. They all had stories, and now they had each other. Then came the school board meeting. Kayla sat in the front row in full uniform. Aaliyah stood at the podium, palms sweaty, voice trembling but eyes blazing. "I came here thinking I was alone," she said. but I've learned that silence only protects the oppressor, not the survivor. The room fell silent. She took a breath, and I'm not afraid anymore. The applause after Alia's speech wasn't polite. It was thunderous. Parents, teachers, and even a few students stood to their feet. For a moment, Alia stood frozen at the podium, stunned by the noise. Her sister gave her a nod from the front row, calm, proud, steady. That night, the school board voted unanimously to launch a formal investigation into harassment and racial bias at Eastwood High. It wasn't just a victory for Alia, it was a spark. The next morning, her phone lit up with messages. You were amazing. Can I talk to you about something that happened to me? You're the reason I didn't transfer out. The girl who once ate alone in the cafeteria now found herself sitting with a growing circle diverse, defiant and determined. Black, Asian, Latino, Indigenous, and white allies too, all united by a truth they could no longer ignore. The school wasn't just flawed. It was broken, and they were done pretending it wasn't. Single quotes. Meanwhile, Kayla wasn't just observing. She met with administrators, pushed the district superintendent for transparency, and connected Alia with a civil rights attorney just in case. More importantly, she trained her sister in every way she knew how. We're not turning you into a soldier, Kayla said one evening in the backyard. But we are building the kind of strength no one can steal. They practiced boundary setting, grounding techniques, voice projection, situational awareness, and martial arts. I hope you never need to use this, Kayla said one night, mid-sparring session. But if you ever do, I want you ready. One Friday morning, just as things seemed to stabilize, Alia opened her locker and found a note. No threats, no slurs, just 3 words. We're not done. She folded the paper, calm now. The fear was still there, but it didn't control her anymore. She walked to class with her head high, because her story wasn't over, and neither was her fight. Note didn't shake her, it sharpened her. Alia had learned by now, when you stand up, people push harder not because you're weak, but because they feel threatened by your strength. And she wasn't about to sit back and let fear crawl back. And so when she saw Kyle Bryce's friends murking at her from across the hallway later that day, she didn't flinch. She didn't look away. She walked right past him, deliberate, unfazed. And when she reached the classroom door, she caught the reflection in the window. Kyle had just dropped something into her open backpack while she wasn't looking. Seconds later, the classroom filled with whispers. Ms. Regan called Alia to her desk. Her face was pale. Empty your bag, she said. Alia's heart thudded, but she stayed calm. Slowly, she unzipped the canvas bag. Inside, a pocket knife. Her eyes widened. I didn't put that there, she said instantly. But Ms. Regan already had her phone out. I need to call the office. In the principal's office, Kayla arrived within 15 minutes. I know she didn't do this, Kayla told them, standing between Alia and the assistant principal. Check the hallway footage. Check every second. Don't you dare treat her like a criminal, Danvers sighed. We'll review the tapes, but we have to follow policy. She suspended until further notice. Alia looked down, fingers tight around the edge of the chair, framed, again. But this time, there were cameras, and Kayla wouldn't rest until the truth came out. The security footage surfaced within 24 hours, it showed. Kyle looking both ways, reaching into Alia's locker, then slipping something into her bag just moments before she passed by. Clear as day. Kayla took it straight to the school board. She didn't wait for permission, and this time, Bryce's circle couldn't hide behind ignorance. Kyle was expelled. But more importantly, Leah's name was cleared, and Eastwood High had a choice to make. Pretend this was over, or face the culture it had been allowing all along. Alia chose the second option. She helped form a student coalition, voices unshaken. They met every week, submitted policy proposals, pushed for mandatory diversity training for staff, and created a peer support system for students targeted by racism or bullying. It wasn't about revenge. It was about rebuilding. The school began to shift slowly. But undeniably, posters lined the halls now with slogans like "Silence protects," "Bullies and voices unshaken," "We speak, we stand." What started as whispers about Aaliyah had grown into a movement. Not just a fight for her, but a fight for everyone who had ever felt erased, ignored, or pushed aside. And still, people tested her. Some rolled their eyes when she spoke. Others made passive-aggressive jokes in class. But the difference now? Wasn't alone at one meeting. A biracial sophomore named Jordan broke down crying while recounting the time a teacher told him he talked to street to be taken seriously. Another girl shared how she'd stopped wearing her hijab because of comments made during lunch. Kayla watched from the back of the room, silent, arms crossed. She had gone back to wearing fatigues. It's not because she had to, but because they made a statement. This is what protection looks like. Bryce didn't come back looking for a fight. He came back to win quietly. No more threats in the hallway. No more slurs. Just smirks. Comments said under his breath. Eye rolls during diversity meetings. Subtle, calculated. He'd realized something. He didn't need to break Aaliyah down with fists or words anymore. He could try to discredit her instead. It started small. He submitted a proposal to the student council claiming the Voices Unshaken group was biased and divisive, that it excluded white students. Next, he spread rumors that Kayla had used intimidation to manipulate school leadership. He told teachers Aaliyah was dramatic, just looking for attention. Then, the worst hit. An anonymous blog surfaced. It accused Aaliyah of fabricating the bullying for clout. It included twisted versions of events, grainy cropped screenshots, and carefully worded speculation. Within 24 hours, hundreds of students had read it, and suddenly, Aaliyah was fighting a new enemy. Doubt. She didn't cry this time, but she sat. On her bedroom floor, legs pulled to her chest, staring at the glowing screen of her phone. Her name twisted her truth, questioned. Kayla knelt beside her. "You okay?" Aaliyah didn't answer. Instead, she whispered, "Why does he keep coming after me?" Kayla sighed. "Because he's scared of you." Aaliyah frowned. "He's scared that people believe you now," Kayla said. "And scared that if you keep rising, no one will listen to him again. Bullies don't care about power until they start losing it." Aaliyah took a breath, then stood up. "Then we show him what rising really looks like." 2 days later, the school auditorium filled. A special assembly, reclaiming the narrative, truth and courage in the face of lies. It wasn't just a response to the blog, it was a rally. Aaliyah walked on stage, gold-cuffed twist bun, shining. Under the lights, lavender hoodie layered with a denim jacket, white sneakers steady beneath her. Behind her stood, Kayla, and beside her dozens of students from every grade and background who had stood up to Aaliyah spoke. Without notes, she told her truth again, not to defend it, to reclaim it. The truth doesn't need permission, she said. It just needs someone brave enough to speak it. So here I am, speaking. The standing ovation wasn't just applause, it was armor. And Bryce. He stood in the back of the auditorium, arms folded, silent. Alone, the room didn't turn toward him. It had already moved on. The blog didn't go down without a fight. Despite the public rally, someone kept posting anonymous updates, fresh lies, even edited videos to twist Aaliyah's words. But it didn't work like before. This time, Leah had momentum. The administration launched an official digital harassment investigation. And more students, ones who'd been quiet, started coming forward, reporting similar experiences. Racist jokes, harassment, threats. Bryce hadn't been targeting just one girl he'd been practicing for years, and now his past was catching up. Kayla wasn't done either. She reached out to an old army friend, now working in cyber forensics. In 36 hours, they tracked the IP behind the anonymous blog. It was Bryce's cousin who had access to the school's internal system. Emails were pulled, shared files uncovered. Suddenly, Bryce's world wasn't just collapsing, it was imploding. Principal Ramos called the Bennetts in. This time, the tone was different, respectful. I owe your family an apology, he said. We should have listened sooner. He looked at Kayla. Thank you for holding us accountable, Kayla nodded. Next time, listen to the kids first. Aaliyah watched as Bryce was suspended, not just for bullying, but for digital defamation, harassment, and endangering student well-being. The school issued a formal statement clearing Aaliyah's name, praising her for her courage. But Aaliyah? She wasn't chasing praise, she was chasing peace. Spring came, sunlight poured through the windows of the art room where Aaliyah now helped lead workshops in storytelling and healing. The same room she once sat in, afraid to speak, now filled with younger girls who looked up to her. One of them asked shyly, "Did you ever want to quit?" Aaliyah smiled. "Yeah, but I remembered I wasn't fighting alone." Outside, Kayla leaned against the hood of her car, arms crossed. Watching her sister through the glass, the girl who once flinched under a hallway, Whispers was now a leader, a builder, a light. Kayla grinned. She doesn't need me anymore. She whispered, then laughed. But I dare someone to try her now. Spring semester's final event was the Student Voice Forum. Every year, one speaker was chosen to represent the student body and talk about what needed to change. This time, the votes were unanimous. Aaliyah Bennett. She stepped onto the auditorium. Stage wearing a long navy blazer over a white shirt, black jeans, and her signature white Nike Air Force One South. Her 4C hair was braided into a regal crown twist, gold cuffs shimmering beneath the stage lights. The room was packed. Students, teachers, parents, even school board officials. She stood behind the podium, heart racing, then looked up and began. A year ago I was invisible, then I was hated. Now I'm heard. Not because I shouted louder than my bullies, but because I refused to stay silent when it mattered. She paused. You could hear a pin drop. This school watched me get torn apart by lies, but it also watched me get lifted by truth. I'm not the only one. There are others still hiding, still afraid, still being told they don't matter. She scanned the crowd. I came here to tell them you do. You always did. As she finished, the room erupted in a standing ovation. Even some teachers had tears in their eyes. Her mom wiped hers, and Kayla. She stood tall in the back, arms folded, proud and unmoving like a guardian, who knew her mission was complete. That speech sparked more than applause. It started change. A new anti-bullying initiative was launched. The school added Black history to its curriculum, and a permanent student equity council was formed with Aaliyah as one of the founding leaders. Summer came fast, and with it, a quiet peace. No more stares. No more whispers. Just the sun on Aaliyah's skin as she rode her bike through the neighborhood. A sketch pad in her bag and a smile on her face. One afternoon, she sat on the porch with Kayla, watching the clouds. You proud of me? Chuckled. You have no idea. Aaliyah leaned on her sister's shoulder. You saved me. No, Kayla replied. You saved yourself. I just reminded you how strong you already were. As the sun set behind them, painting the sky with fire and gold, Aaliyah whispered, I'm ready for whatever comes next. And this time, she meant it. 1 month later, early fall, the world had quieted for Aaliyah. Her name echoed in every corner of the school, not as a target, but as a leader. She was a student equity advisor, speaker at regional youth panels, and most of all, Dash herself. But peace rarely lasted long for girls. Like her, it began with a phone call, one she never expected, one she would never forget. This is Sergeant Ramos from Fort Carson. Is this Aaliyah Bennett? Yes, I'm calling about your sister. Kayla's last mission was classified, but something's wrong. She's missing. Aaliyah's hand trembled. The word missing buzzed in her ears like static. No, she whispered. She can't be. I'm sorry, ma'am, but we'll keep you updated as protocol. A loud click. The line went dead. Just like that, her world cracked open. Kayla Bennett. Army intelligence operative. Warrior. Protector. Sister gone. Aaliyah couldn't accept it. Wouldn't accept it. For the next 72 hours, she didn't sleep. didn't eat. She pored through news blogs, military forums, encrypted Reddit pages, anything that might give her a lead. But one name kept popping up in the shadows. Project Atlas. No one at school knew. Aaliyah kept showing up, smiling, speaking, leading. But behind that mask, her heart pounded with rage and fear. Then one night, someone slipped a letter into her locker. No name, just a red stamp with a falcon insignia on coordinates. 37.7749N. 122.4194 W. San Francisco. Aaliyah stared at it. San Francisco. Where Kayla was last deployed. She made up her mind, packed a duffel bag, left a note for her mom, took a bus from Denver to San Francisco. Aaliyah was going to find Kayla herself. Hours later, she arrived in the foggy city, heart pounding like a war drum. The coordinates led to a pier warehouse. Half collapsed, long abandoned, but someone was waiting. A tall black woman with sharp eyes and a military bearing. "You're Kayla's sister?" Aaliyah nodded. The woman handed her a small flash drive. "She knew you'd come. Don't lose this." "Wait, who are you?" But she was already gone, slipping into the mist. Back at a cheap motel, Aaliyah opened the drive, encrypted files. Photos, maps, and a video. Kayla's face appeared. "If you're watching this, I've been taken. Not by enemies, but by people within. There's corruption deep in the ranks. I was close to exposing them. That's why they silenced me. Ali, if anyone can finish what I started, it's you. Don't trust the uniforms. Don't trust the command. Trust your instincts. And tell Mom I love her." The screen went black. Alia broke down, but not for long. She wiped her tears, stood up. "If they want war, I'll bring it." As the sun rose over Washington, D.C., Aaliyah stood tall in her crisp navy blue blazer. Kayla beside her in uniform, newly reinstated after exposing the corrupt task force behind Project Atlas. The press swarmed around them. But Aaliyah didn't. Flinchy wasn't that frightened girl from school anymore. She'd faced bullies, violence, a national conspiracy, and even the weight of silence, but through it all, she never broke. Now, with her sister's hand in hers, and the world watching, she stepped forward to the podium and said, "My name is Aaliyah Bennett. I'm not just the girl who was threatened. I'm the one who fought back. For my sister. For every black girl who was told to stay quiet, and we're never going back into the shadows again." Crowd erupted. Justice wasn't just served, it was rewritten in her name. Let me know if you'd like a bonus epilogue or a new story next.